Did you hear they've opened a restaurant on the moon?
Watch TV, films, YouTube on your dashboard and in the rear, and possibly on a projector outside your van. Listen to music, podcasts, audiobooks. I've had this for a while now. Is the Alpine Halo 11 the best head unit you can buy? Well, I thought so when I bought it, and as I've recently been asked about it a few times, I thought I'd give an update as to how I'm getting on with it. Some people have said to me that they think it's too big until they've seen it in my van. But why is it different in my van as it is opposed to others? Do I still like it? Yes, very much, and I'm going to tell you why. I will start by saying how much I missed it recently when I did a different campervan video. I had a different van for a few days and that just had the factory head unit in it. Now, not having that large screen was a big miss. Now, I wasn't watching TV or anything whilst I'm driving, obviously I don't do that, but just to have that large screen for a sat-nav, it's just really clear. When something's going on, it's just a quick, easy glance to see what's happening, see what radio station you're on. It's just simple things like that. I also kept leaving my phone in the van and having to go back for it. A simple thing, but having Apple CarPlay means that I normally just leave my phone in my pocket. Now, the standard head unit on the Volkswagen Transporters does have Apple CarPlay, but it is a wired connection, so you need to take it out your pocket and plug it in. Hence, I kept forgetting my van nearly every time. Obviously, it's something which you'd get used to and not a major problem if you are used to it, but for me, I kept leaving my phone in my van. Now, while I'm talking about Apple CarPlay, we may as well properly talk about it. And I will actually add that it does do Android Auto as well for people who've got the Android phones, the Sony Xperias, the Samsungs, the Googles, things like that. There is Android Auto. But as it's Apple I use, then it's that what I'm going to be mentioning here. And sat-nav options are varied, as you can choose whatever choice you want. Now, on here, I've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, or you can download something like TomTom or the Copilot, but my most often is Waze, and I've actually got a couple of very good tips here for you, just kind of tips in general. You don't really need a head unit for these tips, but the first of these tips is actually if you're going to be going to an area in your camper van, which you probably often are, where the signal's not going to be the best of signals, so you're going to be going off the map area, then it's a really good idea to actually download your sat-nav maps before you actually go anywhere. So if you know you're going to be going to North Wales, for instance, and you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, and you know that whilst you're going down certain roads, then you might not get a phone signal, then if you download the map for that area, it's going to be really, really useful if you do get lost. Because if you lose your signal and you're going the wrong way down a rural road, then it's really good that you've actually got that map stored there so you can still get directions. You're not going to get lost because you've already got the map. Just a simple but yet really effective idea. And the other quick tip here is Waze. Now, Waze is a completely free app. You don't actually pay for it. If you haven't used it, it's very good for instant updates of situations. So if you put in your destination, even if you know where you're going, it's something which I often do, it'll alert you to traffic en route, accidents, speed cameras, obstacles in the road, potholes, which obviously can be very frequent on the UK roads. And this information is updated real time by road users. So for instance, if you've plotted your route and you kind of hit some traffic, then you can just tap some traffic, say you've got some traffic and it's reported it. I shouldn't have just reported the fact that I've got some traffic at Saltram because that's not true. So sorry Waze, please don't shout at me for that. But like you can see there, you can just report these various different instances yourself. Map issue, that's probably going to be one which I'm going to get reported for now. I've just done that. Police, accident, hazards. So sometimes if you're going down the motorway, there might be a vehicle on the shoulder or an object in the middle of the road or something like that. You can just report these are hazards, so somebody who's half a mile behind you can actually be alerted to them and then know, and they can take the appropriate action which they need to do. So for instance, if I'm going to be setting off somewhere and it says actually this road is completely blocked of traffic, I might say, well, actually, I'm going to go that way instead. Might not follow the navigation which it's going to give me because I might know the area, but you can still take appropriate action as you so wish. And also with Waze, the actual voices which you use, you can't actually do it on here. I'll actually overlay it on my phone. But on the phone, you can actually change the various different voices which which actually come up. So if somebody's giving you the directions to say, turn left here in 100 yards, do this or whatever, you can actually have funny voices. So you can have things like a 70s DJ, 90s pop star. There's lots of different comedic voices on there. Bit of a laugh. They might get a little bit repetitive at times, and you might not need it. You might not need the directions anyway. It's just there if you want a bit of a laugh every now and again.
Let's get this show on the road. I've got a whole lot of dad jokes for you. I keep them all in my dad ovaries.
But anybody can effectively benefit from those tips. You don't need the head unit to be able to use those tips. As long as you've got a smartphone and you've got it on your dash plugged in somewhere, then you can benefit from Waze and downloading the maps before. Additionally, what I also love about this head unit is the fact that I can listen to podcasts. I often listen to podcasts myself, listen to audiobooks along with music, and I've often found myself recently listening to more and more podcasts and listening to books as well, especially now as podcasts are becoming more popular. I might even release my own Fire Pit Campervan Conversations on podcast one day, if I actually knew how to do it. And I do promise there are many more of those videos coming soon. Music, video, audio aren't the only accessible apps though. I'm able to use the screen to book parking. So on here, I've got different parking apps. So I've got the JustPark there. I've got the Ringo there. I use Ringo quite regularly along with JustPark because various different car parks need it these days, and it's just easy just to do it without actually getting your phone out your pocket. Just go on there and book your parking. Really simple to do. But that's not just CarPlay, that's Android Auto as well. It isn't unique to CarPlay. The size of this screen though is pretty unique, and it does set itself apart from others, especially the stock stereo as we called it back in the 80s and 90s. Now before we talk more about the size of this unit, because obviously it's a nice size for viewing things on, but also the position on it, which I'll come on to in a moment. It also retains its existing manufacturer screen functions, subject you're actually getting the correct interface for it to talk to your van, but the professionals can ensure that you get the right one for your van. You've spent a good amount of money on the main unit. You certainly don't want to be going cheap option here. The compatibility will be affected if you don't choose the right one for you. I got mine from Dream Ice and the service was absolutely first class, including any after sales queries which I had. I do highly recommend them, and I did have queries afterwards because I did fit this myself, so I did have a couple of questions for them and they were more than happy to help me out. They also advised me on my speaker upgrades and other bits, and they made the kit exactly to my vehicle requirements, including the module for it to actually talk to the van. And with this module, it retains its existing sensors, its parking sensors, reversing camera, and it's a really big help that now it's on this massive screen, so it makes sure that you're not going to be hitting those objects which you might be potentially reversing into. It's got the markings on there, so you know exactly where you are, and as you can hear, it's got the audible beep. So as you do get closer to an object, then it is going to change its tone, and you can see on the top of it there, it's got a radar guide, whatever you call it, just to show you what objects are in front of you, so you're not going to hit any objects in front of you. So if I wasn't in reverse and there was an object in front of me, then it comes up in the big screen here and it just shows you that you're potentially going to hit something, so make sure you look out what you're doing and don't hit anything. Now the steering wheel controls are also retained, so you can be using the volume, skipping tracks, answering calls, and even potentially using Siri whilst your hands are off the steering wheel. So it's just got pretty much everything. So, hey Siri, tell me a joke about campervans.
Did you hear they've opened a restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere.
Oh dear, that's terrible. And it's also got absolutely nothing to do with campervans. But never mind, so Siri's not particularly good for campervan jokes. And to be honest with you, using the head unit for the sound of jokes is pretty much wasted, really. It's really good quality. An audiophile actually listened to this and he said how good it was and how good the separation was. I've got no idea, but it does sound good to me, and a night and day difference from the standard. But I will add that a big improvement which I did make to my van has been helped with the upgraded speaker system and the sound deadening in the doors. That being an upgrade, I think that every van should really have, because it just makes a huge difference. Upgrading the speakers to a far better quality than the standard ones does make that improvement, but also done correctly with the correct sound deadening and insulation in the doors in the front of the cabin, it does make a massive difference. It helps with the external noise and also the vibration as well. It just makes a huge amount of difference. Even before I upgraded my speakers, there was a massive improvement as far as the sound quality was concerned, and that's because this has got an inbuilt amplifier. Alpine say it's the world first at a head unit. It's a Class D amp, which is 4x50. Don't know, but it certainly sounds good. And also, whilst you're upgrading the front speakers, now might be the time to put some in the rear as well. I've put a pair in the back of here, as you might have seen. I've fitted these into the Halo roof which I've got. Now, if you've got a pop top, then you're not going to have a Halo roof, so you're not going to be able to put them in the same kind of place, but you will be able to put them in there somewhere. I've seen some people put them in the kitchen units. Probably not a preferable option for me, but there are other places you can put them, like right back in the corners, which I actually think looks pretty good. To input music, video, or even charge a device, there's 2 USB ports. One of them is for charging, and the other one is for charging and media input. I've wired this in mind to actually utilise the existing USB port, and again, that was speaking to the guys at Dream Ice to make sure that I had the right components to make sure I do that. And then the other one is sit inside the glove box with a HDMI cable as well, which I'll come on to in a second. So your mobile phone can be connected here to charge it, play potentially music from it, video, or you could be putting in a USB stick in there, or again, to play some videos. This isn't the only input option, and to be honest with you, it's not the one I use the most. The one I use the most is the HDMI input, and this means that a video device can be used like a Fire Stick, Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, or a PlayStation, Xbox. There's lots of different video playing options, and I personally use a PS4, and although it could be used to play games, actually it sometimes is, especially with my son, but I often use this to access Sky. Now, I can watch TV, films, etc. My favourite being sport. And this, at the moment, is very, very popular because I know a lot of people are going to be watching the Cricket World Cup and the Euros whilst they're out and about on sites. Who do you think is going to win the Euros? With my input device being the PlayStation, there are many other options to add to Sky TV. I could be using Disney+, Netflix, Prime Video, BBC, Apple TV, or I could even be watching my own videos on YouTube should I wish. I can play games here if I want to, but actually, like I said, my son likes playing those, especially on the longer journeys, or even sometimes on a wet, miserable day when we're out on site. And it looks really good on this screen. The screen is high definition and really clear. The resolution is 1280 by 720 WXGA, and it's the highest resolution available when I bought it, and I still think it is today. You might not necessarily watch the screen on this though, because there's an HDMI out, so you can take multiple screens away from this, so you can have it playing on this screen, but also on another couple of screens as well. I've previously had 3 screens connected, this one and then 2 in the rear. Now, I think the best option for this is a projector. A projector is a brilliant use, especially with a great sound from the speakers coming from the head unit. You can have the projector screen in your van, your awning, or wherever the HDMI lead will stretch to. I know there's quite a few people who use those projectors, but they aren't using the high quality sound of a system such as this. The depth is often missing from those projectors, although your neighbours are not really going to be wanting a deep bassy sounds coming from your blockbuster movie if they're trying to relax. But that's where the sound can be tailored to exactly what you want. There are so many different settings in here, far more than I'm ever going to need. You can actually tailor it to fine tune it exactly how you want. Now, looking at that, my battery's looking a little bit low, which isn't ideal. You've got the fader in here, so you can be changing exactly where the sound is coming from. You've got an equalizer, a crossover, you've got time correction. And if you don't really know what you're doing, like as I said, I don't, then you've got things like this, because they're already pre-programmed and you just click what you want and off you go. It's going to sound far better. It's got loads of different options, as you see there. I expect it's more than most of us will ever need. It's also high-res audio certified, which enables the unit to play your high-res quality uncompressed files. Along with your various different input options, you're also able to use it as a normal radio should you wish. So it's got the radio, which is FM, AM and DAB. But a clever feature in this is that if you do lose your DAB signal, it'll automatically switch over to the FM, which is really beneficial because, again, when you go into some of these places, you might well lose that signal. So having that is far better. And another additional option here for listening to music is that it's got Tidal. Now this is on the home screen and it's subject to actually having an active account, but you can play music through here. So there's lots and lots of different options, different ways you can listen and watch. But is it too big? Some have said that they don't like the way that it sits so high on the dashboard. It blocks the vents, it's massive. Well, yes, it is massive, but I think that's a positive. And regarding it sitting high, yeah, that's down to the installation of it. And yes, I have seen some people who've got it installed really, really high, but it's personal preference. I didn't want mine sitting way up here like some people have it. So I fitted it further down. I fitted it, I think, as low down as I possibly could, and it's absolutely perfect for me. There's a lot of adjustability in it. You can adjust the height, the depth, the angle, so you can change it to suit whatever preferences you have. And as for blocking the vents, well, look, unless you're going to be pointing the airflow in the opposite direction to what it's actually intended, there isn't any blocking of the vents. You can see it here that it sits really nicely. It couldn't be any bigger. I think the size of it is perfect. And yes, you could get the 9-inch if you think this one is too big, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. And as I was saying to those people who've been asking me about it, what I think, I've said that if I am going to be moving van, then I'm probably going to be taking this with me, because I wouldn't want to be going back to a smaller screen anymore. And I think it's definitely worth having. I absolutely love it. It would be the perfect addition to some of those incredible camper vans which I saw at the NEC show, and you can have a look at those here. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I hope to see you soon.